Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. Not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi, folks. Welcome back. Well. Doctors who implement anti-racism plan, that's in quotation marks, by the way, given bonuses by Biden administration. Are you kidding me? Wait till you read this. I wish I could come up with something more articulate that these people truly suck. Those of you Biden voters out there that voted for Biden because he was the moderate choice. He was just plain old Uncle Joe, and he wasn't the crazy Trump who tweeted mean things and said mean things and was pompous and arrogant. He was the steady hand, the experienced man in government. Well, what the do you think now? Thanks, Biden voters. The Monetary Incentive Program is part of the new rules issued by the Department of Health and Human Services. Let's read on. The Department of Health and Human Services announced new rules for Medicare doctors, which include monetary compensation for those who adopt anti-racism plans. You know, I broke my ankle. What the hell does my race have to do with any of it? Medical problems. Yeah, there's some genetic differences. African Americans have a higher rate of high blood pressure, heart disease, sickle cell anemia. And my father's family's Italian. There's some people in Sicily and southern Italy that get sickle cell anemia because back in the day, the Moors took over that part of the world and they were black. And these things are prevalent, but 99% of everything else is the same. Doctors who conduct a clinic-wide review and evaluate their practices' commitment to anti-racism will be able to increase their reimbursement rates. What the hell is a clinical review? They want to know how many people are black. They want to know how many people are white. They want to know how many males, how many females. Really? This is like Nazi Germany, Ku Klux Klan, Jim Crow stuff. When are people going to finally realize it's the progressive Democrats that are the racists? Just like that asshat that was on Timcast IRL the other night, the rapper, R.A., the tough guy or whatever the hell he is. He's a racist. And he got treated way better by Tim Pool than I would have treated him. Especially in the after show, those of you that are members of timcast.com. As soon as he swung at that mic, expensive equipment I might add, a couple of times, I would have said, you know what, get out of here. And when he made fun of maybe some of the things that happened to him when he was younger, being part Korean and his family, he laughed at him. I would have said, okay, you know what, have a good day. There's the door. You can't get through to these people. And now they're in charge. Thanks, Biden voters. Now they're in charge of Health and Human Services. Nice. The department wants doctors to define race as a political and a social construct, not a psychological one. Race is a political and social construct. So if you're like me, half Italian, from central Italy, and on my mother's side, I believe it's a very small part Lithuanian and English as in the country of England, that defines what my race is. Not my politics, not what I believe in politically, not where I grew up in what environment. That doesn't define my race. And that's the thing. That's why they can say with a straight face, and when you call them out, they go, what? That Larry Elder, that was part of the recall on Gavin Newsom, California, was the black face of white supremacy. Race has nothing to do with your race. It has to do with your politics and your social construct. Unbelievable. It is important to acknowledge that systematic racism as a root cause for differences in health outcomes between socially defined racial groups. Socially defined racial groups. I would assume, logic says, that very low-income people don't have as good as health care as people that are rich. They eat better food. Yeah, that's just the way it's always been. We do the best we can. Of course, there's food stamps, and I used to own a convenience store in a low-income area for over 2 decades. And believe me, they weren't buying the fresh vegetables and the cheeses and the milk and all that good stuff. They were buying Doritos and all the candy and everything else because you can buy them. And one little side note, in the state of New York anyway, if you buy a taxable item, i.e. sales tax, like candy, we'll say soda, any of those things, you don't have to pay the sales tax. Not many people know that. The department says the change in policy is in line with President Joe Biden's executive order on advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government, which he issued hours after his inauguration. And there's the F word, in my opinion. Equity is not equality. Those of you, Joe Biden, he's the moderate. He's Uncle Joe. Well, guess what? Your hatred for Trump clouded your judgment. And if you're really that gullible, you shouldn't be voting, period. Listen to this. In the order, Biden said his administration would pursue a comprehensive approach to advancing equity for all, no, not for all, including people of color and others who have been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality. Persistent poverty I might go along with. You have to get at the root. But all those people in the Midwest, all of the so-called old Rust Belt, where the oxycodone epidemic is sweeping through it, are the vast majority are 95% white. And they could give a damn. They don't give two about those people. Equity for all. That means taking all the money in the United States and dividing up equally among all people evenly. And I would bet my life on the fact that within 5 to 10 years, if that was done, the same 5-10% on top would be on top again, because how they perceive things, how they know how things work, money, how to invest it, how to set up businesses. Those other ones don't, and they should be taught that, actually. It's amazing to me that you can get a $50,000 loan with no collateral, and even if your credit sucks, if you're an 18-year-old going to college, and that loan will never leave you even if you die. But you can't get a kid that's in a low-income poverty area and has been for 3 generations. You can't get a $10,000, $15,000 loan, 1/5 of that, to go to trade school. An electrician, plumber, HVAC, the list is endless. Construction, bricklayers, drywallers, they make damn good money. But you can't get a loan. You can't get a loan. It's a con job. They're not looking for people being equal. They want equity. Equity is evil. Because advancing equity requires a systematic approach to embedding fairness in decision-making processes. Executive departments and agencies must recognize and work to redress inequities in their policies and programs that serve as barriers to equal opportunity. Equal equity. They interchange that. It's not the same. In fact, they're polar opposites. The statement continues. By advancing equity across the federal government, we can create opportunities for the improvement of communities that have been historically underserved, which benefits everyone. So, here's what's going to happen 10 years from now. You walk into a walk-in clinic. You have a broken arm, and you walk into the clinic. and you see that the doctor is non-white, what's going to happen is this, because people are people, or one of your kids has a life-threatening illness, and you see the doctor is non-white, you're going to think that they were brought up through medical school with the notion of equity. In other words, you can graduate from medical school. We'll put you through, we'll pull you through, we make sure you get through, that you get your doctorate degree because you're non-white. What's going to happen? What are people going to think? Think about that for a minute. They go into effect January 1. Happy New Year. The new rules update Medicare's merit-based incentive payment system, a scoring rubric that determines eligible doctors' reimbursement rates. So let's see. I set a broken arm on a 12-year-old boy. But I go through this program while the boy happens to be non-white. I get more money? Are you kidding me? Not only do we have a two-tier justice system, we're going to have a two-tier medical system based on race too? These people are nuts. Congress set up that system in 2015 to reward clinicians for high-quality, cost-effective medical care. I have no problem with a cost incentive to make higher quality and cost-effective. Not at all. And to penalize them for providing unnecessary costly services. I have zero problem with that. Absolutely zero. What the hell does it have to do with race and systematic racism is zero. Doctors are also rewarded for implementing what the HHH calls trauma-informed care approach. What the hell does that mean? The objective of this approach is to avoid re-traumatizing or triggering past trauma. The department cited multi-generational trauma, whereby experiences that traumatized earlier generations, just as genocide of Native American tribes, are passed down. That trauma is not passed down. Your father has PTSD from being in the war. Now, you might have had to deal with PTSD as the person's son or daughter, but you don't have PTSD. Now they're actually saying that trauma is inherently passed on through the genes to your children and their children. So if there was genocide, which there wasn't of Native Americans, there was a lot of bad things that happened, real bad. 80 to 90% of the Native Americans in North America died from disease, not genocide. But we'll say that it's true. So you're going to be traumatized because your great-great-great-grandfather was. That is bat crazy. Just like you're going to have to pay for what your great-great-great-grandfather did to black people in the South. You had zero to do with it. You don't even approve at all. News of the change was denounced on Twitter. Oh, what do you think? Yikes, you thought CRT was bad in schools. Just wait until they triage you based on your color of your skin. Yeah. Trauma-informed care. They're going to treat you differently because of your race. That goes against everything Dr. King and all the laws passed in the 1960s. Unbelievable. Hey, Doc, I fell and broke my arm. If you ever used any of the following words in anger or just in jest, just put a check next to those that apply. Dude, my arm's broken. Why are you resisting our efforts to create a more equitable society? These people are nuts, and you put them in charge. The notion that Biden is a moderate should be retired, rewarding doctors to ignore biology and science in favor of social constructionism is an extreme woke project. It has nothing to do with health. Well, I got to tell you, there's the tweet. I got to tell you, though, honestly, here's what I think of that. Yeah, good for you. Guy's absolutely right. During 2020, approximately 18.4% of Americans were covered by Medicare, which, by the way, I'm getting into real quick. I turned 65 the middle of last month. Medicare spending last year reached approximately $925 billion. In 1970, the program spending was $7.5 billion. Yeah, that's a big deal. And so now we're going to give monetary incentives for people to treat people differently because they're non-white. This is insane. How screwed up is that? Remember, actions in life have consequences, both good and bad. You make the right choice, usually is a good outcome. Voting also is a choice. And who you vote for has an outcome. But the difference is, instead of making a bad choice that affects you or your family or the people around you, making the wrong choice in voting affects all 300 plus million of us here in the United States. Think about that for a minute. Until the next time, goodbye and good luck.